Commitment.
Dedication.
I think this time you could tell it's 4:30 a.m.
What did you say?
You can
What was
tell
that?
4 o'clock in the morning. The background is black.
Call to order. The governing board meeting is called to order at 6:30 p.m. Please stand for the flag salute. Ready, begin.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
Roll call. Let the record reflect that trustee Chong, trustee Shed, trustee Frutos, and Dr. Miramontes are present for the meeting here in the district boardroom. Trustee Ahmad is present via teleconference. With trustee Ahmad participating via teleconference, please note that all votes at tonight's meeting will be taken by roll call. Approval of agenda. It's recommended that the governing board approve the agenda of June 23rd, 2022 governing board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chong. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Shed. Is there any discussion? With no discussion on this item, we'll move to approve the item with the roll call vote, starting with Mr. Chong,
I,
Ms. Shed,
Aye.
Ms. Ahmad,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to hearing session, the audience members may request to address the board on an item on the agenda per board bylaws 9323. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the governing board on the agenda item. The board limits a total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. The total time allowed for public comment shall be 30 minutes. Audience members wishing to address the board during the hearing session of the agenda should fill out a request to address the governing board form and turn it into the executive assistant prior to the board holding the hearing session. Dr. Miramontes,
We have no public comments.
is there any comments from the remote location with Ms. Ahmad?
No
Thank you.
comments.
Now we'll be moving on to governing board vacancy provisional appointment. Candidates interview. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. After the interview, the board will deliberate and vote to select the new trustee. The new trustee will be scheduled to be sworn in at the June 27th, 2022 regular board meeting. The order each candidate will be called for the interview will be determined by a random draw during the meeting. Before getting
Go ahead.
Before getting started with the interviews, I would like to thank all the candidates for applying to be a part of the governing board. We appreciate your interest in serving the board and looking forward to hearing each of you this evening. Dr. Miramontes, are we ready to draw the first name?
Yes, and just to make it clear, Mr. Harrison, our Chief Personnel Officer, will be reading the names, and he will also be keeping track of the time. He'll let you know where you are within the interview. So really, it's important that you time your responses appropriately. I will draw the names, and then you'll be able to come up, and I'll remove the questions that are right in front of you also. So you can follow along. So the first name up. Jim Young. Please come forward.
Thank you for joining us today. Once again, I'm Russell Harrison, the Chief Personnel Officer. The questions are posted in front of each of our candidates, but we'll read them off and we'll provide you with time. When you do hear the timer, we will be moving on to finish up that sentence that you're on, and we'll move on to the next question. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. Our first question asks, please tell us about yourself, your involvement at any Buena Park School District schools, and why you would like to be appointed to our governing board.
Well, I've been a resident for Buena Park for about, I say about like 20 years. And I've been working pretty much as a creative, from web development to advertising to like data marketing. And the reason I wanted to get involved with the district is I have a child that's about to enter middle school, and my wife and I are divorced, and so she's currently in the Tustin school district, and we're deciding if she should enter school here locally, or maybe we should try to find another. Either I know there are several options like charter schools. Or I went to ABC district at Whitney and I graduated from there. And that's like kind of like another option that she could move to Cerritos. Well, anyway, the point is that I want to learn more about the school system here. And I thought like one of the best ways to do it is to be part of the board. And at my earlier age, I wasn't really interested in politics or civil service or I just kind of wasn't interested in that. I thought there was really nothing for me to do. But then as they grow older, and especially after I've had a child, now all those matters seem very important. I'm getting more involved. And I'm kind of seeing the most effect I could have is at the local level. And so that's why I've been getting more involved with nonprofit organizations and things like that as a goal.
Thank you very much. And I will clarify for all of our candidates, I'll have in my hand the timer if it is helpful for you as you do move on. Thank you so much. We'll move on to question number 2. What do you see as the basic purpose of public schools?
I mean, the purpose of public schools, the way I see it is to prepare kids to basically succeed in life and teach them basic societal kind of tools from not just the academic part of it, but social learning and just being part of the community. And just kind of developing all those structures, the basic structures to have them a successful life. And I see that as the most important feature of public schools. And currently, I know there's a battle between charter schools and basically privatization in general in our society, where funds are being kind of sucked away to basically like there's a movement to privatize everything. And right now public schools are one of the fields where this battle is going on.
Thank you very much. Question number 3. What is your view of the role of the Board of Trustees in the fulfillment of that basic purpose?
Basically, it's to give support. The way I see it is to obviously hold everyone that's involved accountable and to give support to basically the teacher because they're on the front lines and the support staff, and make sure the resources that they need are there. And I see that as the main purpose of the board is to make sure that the curriculum and the people that are working the curriculum, will be presenting the curriculum, have the necessary tools and resources and make sure that they are accountable.
Thank you very much. Question number 4. How would you describe the role of the governing board in relationship to the superintendent and district administration?
I mean, it's almost similar to the previous question in that it's just to see that the superintendent is held accountable for whatever the actions that they're doing. And that's my understanding of what the board of governors. I don't know, I may be wrong, but that's my understanding of it.
Thank you. Our 5th question. What do you believe are the top 2 issues in the Buena Park School that the Buena Park School District faces and why?
I mean, obviously, I know very little about the Buena Park District. Well, my niece is like the only one that I've known that went through the school system. But I imagine it's very similar to a lot of the poor or somewhere in the middle districts, which is, I imagine there's a fight for, I imagine there's a decrease in student population. I imagine that's one of the big issues, because there's a push for like school vouchers, and a lot of parents are taking kids out of the district and sending them to like charter schools and whatnot. I imagine that's one of the big issues, like every district faces, most districts. And with that comes obviously the funding gets cut, and I mean, yeah, I mean, that's basically the revenue stream that comes in, and because they kind of correlate, because if you don't have the attendance, then your revenue gets cut. So I imagine that's like the 2 biggest issues.
Thank you. How familiar are you with each of the district's schools? What can you tell us about them?
Yeah, I mean, that I know very little. My niece went to the junior high school that's right next door. I mean, other than picking her up a couple times after school, I know very little about the school here.
Thank you. Our final question asks, how would you handle a parent stopping you and asking you to intervene on a school program or operations issue?
I don't think that's a purview of the school board. It's something that you could take up and talk to maybe someone, maybe the principal or the superintendent. You could bring that case up, but I don't think it's something that the school board member actually handles, and it's not within their power to stop. I don't think like a program. So, I mean, I imagine I'll handle it, like say I'll look into it, but other than that, I'll bring it up, but other than, see what that program is, but I wouldn't promise them anything, I guess is my point, is because I don't think that's within the purview of a trustee.
We want to thank you for the time that you've provided this evening to offer your candidacy for the position. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next candidate. Brenda Estrada.
Good evening. Once again, want to let you know over here to the side, I will have a timer that can assist you with that 2-minute time for each question. We'll go ahead and begin with the first one. Please tell us about yourself, your involvement at any Buena Park School District schools, and why you would like to be appointed to our governing board.
Okay, I have, all my life I've been involved in the district because I started since kindergarten at Charles G. Emory Elementary up until Buena Park High School. So I went to all the different schools within the district, and I've never left the city of Buena Park. All my 21 years I've lived here. And I also did some community service at Charles G. Emory with one of the third grade teachers there. And I helped her out. And personally, right now, my brother is also currently enrolled in Buena Park High School, and he as well has been from Emory to Gilbert and the middle school. So all our lives, we've both been involved in the schools since kindergarten. And I would like to be appointed to our governing board because I have firsthand knowledge of how the board's decision has affected students individually and as a group. And because of this, I would like to be able to help students in the areas that I saw when I was a student myself 3 years ago. And I would like to be able to bring that knowledge to the board and hopefully let them see from a student's point of view, their struggles and which areas they need the most help in. Because I know that certain students don't like to speak up, and I know that their voices aren't being heard, and some of them are being left behind, unfortunately. And I want to be able to help those students because I also went through those struggles, and I had also had to move schools as well.
Thank you very much. And can I just check in with Mrs. Ahmad? Mrs. Ahmad, are you hearing clearly the audio? Do you need our candidates to bring the microphone any closer?
If they could bring it a little closer, that would be great.
Thank you. Our second question. What do you see as the basic purpose of public schools?
What I see as the basic purpose of public schools is to give children the basic knowledge that they need to either pursue a career or pursue a trade once they're out of the schools. And I believe that the purpose of public schools is that it has to prepare a student for real life, basically. Because they need a fundamental education for them to decide whether or not they want to pursue higher education or they want to go straight into the field to look for a job or whatever it is that they might want. Because as I said, since in my case, one of the teachers that I had during high school was one of the biggest role models for me because she was the person that had pushed me into pursuing higher education. And because of her help, I had enrolled into a community college, and then I graduated, and then I transferred with honors into Cal State Fullerton. And with her help, I had also chosen which major I needed. And because of this, I think that the main role is for them to find a place where they can be helped and where they can have their dreams fulfilled. Because I know that had I not had that support from that one teacher that actually saw me for what I could do, I don't think I would be where I was today. And I greatly appreciate everything she's done for me.
Thank you. Question 3. What is your view of the role of the Board of Trustees in the fulfillment of that basic purpose?
My view is that I believe that the Board of Trustees are able to pass policies that will help children each have an even chance to gain whatever it is that they want once they are out of the district. Because I know that many students face issues with either food insecurity, or maybe they might be straying into the wrong path, or maybe it's just that certain types of lectures and things just don't help them. And I think that the Board of Trustees is responsible for passing policies, for helping elect teachers that have a passion for helping students learn and to help them have a better future. And I also believe that they are in charge of, as I know, they have recently won the district has won 2 awards in 2022 for helping students with the COVID-19 pandemic and helping them with mental health issues and helping with food insecurity. And I think the main goal for them is to better the lives of the students and to give them the best possible chance that they have at a better future.
Thank you. How would you describe the role of the governing board in relationship to the superintendent and district administration?
I think the role of the governing board and the superintendent is to keep a sort of checks and balances between them, but also to coexist and work together for the betterment of the students. Because I know the board has to be able to keep the superintendent in check, and the superintendent has to also keep the board in check, and they have to help each other to choose policies that will work and that can help students. Because I don't think there could be a board without the superintendent or the district administration, because I don't believe that they could work without each other. Everyone needs each other for the main goal to help the student.
What do you believe are the top 2 issues the Buena Park School District faces and why?
Well, from my personal experience, I could say that one of the issues that they face is that many students from low-income areas, especially the area in which I live, they face very big issues of food insecurity. And I know that the district has been trying to help, because I know there have been the policies in which they give food out to children, sometimes on Fridays. And I know they did that at Gilbert School, because that was a really great help for me and my family, because my brother would always come home with fresh fruit and vegetables. And I know that in that area, many of the other women and children that lived within my apartment complex also received that help. And without it, I don't think many other areas would be able to bring fresh fruit and vegetables to the table. And I think that's one of the main reasons that many children do struggle, since they can't have a full meal. And because of that, once they come to school, they're hungry, they're tired, and they aren't able to perform as they should. And I think that the second issue that they might face is truancy and absence. I know that in my experience, when I was in school, many kids would stop showing up to classes altogether. And I know that there were many that would show up with letters saying, "Could please show up," and then they would have to go to different schools, and they would have to be moved out, or they would just leave the state altogether. And I think that truancy and absence is one of the biggest problems, especially now with the COVID-19 pandemic, in which many people maybe don't want to come back due to feeling insecure about how the pandemic has been handled or how it is spreading so quickly. And those are the 2 issues I believe are the biggest that we're facing.
How familiar are you with each of the district's schools? What can you tell us about them?
I would say that I'm very familiar with the district schools. As I said, I attended Emory Elementary School, Charles G. Emory Elementary School, and I also attended Buena Park Middle School. And I attended all the years there, since kindergarten all the way up until 8th grade. And I know that Charles G. Emory was one of the best elementary schools, because it did really push me into pursuing a higher education, since they had many programs that would help higher achieving students, such as I think it was the CAPS program or the GATE program, that would help students test into that group and have education that was a little higher than the education that was being offered in other classrooms. And I also know that in the junior high school, there were many different programs that they had there, such as carpentry and art, that really inspired students to pursue trades and careers. I know for a fact in the junior high school, the art class that I had was really one of the best classes that I had there, because it actually inspired my love of art. And I know a bunch of other students and a lot of my friends there also as well enjoyed their electives the most, because they had such a wide variety. and they felt that the teachers had a passion to help them and to actually give them the resources they would need to pursue the things that they are interested in.
Our final question. How would you handle a parent stopping you and asking you to intervene on a school program or operations issue?
The way in which I would handle it is actually I would try and speak with them about why they want me to intervene and what is the issue with that specific program. Because I believe if they were to reach the level of having to stop a board member and be able to speak to them, it means it's an issue that they are very passionate about and that they feel very strongly about, that their voice should be heard. And although I know that I might not be able to bring the change that they hope for, maybe I would be able to bring that topic to the table for the board to discuss. Because even though we know that they might not know the whole issue, or they might not know the ins and outs of the board and everything, at the baseline, parents care about their students' education, and if they have a question or they have something that they're that interested in, that they would go to that length, they should be heard. Because that means that they're involved, and that is the number one thing that we have to help students achieve success.
Thank you for your time and interest in the position of governing board member.
Haley Schneider.
Good evening, Ms. Schneider. Same 7 questions. Timer is here, and I will go ahead and begin with number 1. Please tell us about yourself and your involvement at any Buena Park School District schools and why you would like to be appointed to our governing board.
So I'm currently getting my special education credential at Whittier College, and I'm working as a substitute paraeducator for the OC Department of Ed. My involvement with schools have actually mostly been within the Walnut Unified and the Fullerton Joint, which was all working with special education populations. And I would like to be appointed to the governing board because I see the importance of the board being within the community and being a robust force within the community. And I have creative and innovative solutions of how to build that relationship even further than I see the board already attempting to build that relationship. And also on a more personal note, I grew up in poverty and I was one of the students who fell through the cracks. And so I see where the faults are in that system. I see how teachers can kind of overlook it. And I also know the warning signs of those students, like what to look out for, because it's very hard to know that when you have not experienced it. And so I want to make sure that those students and students alike always they get what they need. They have the resources and the tools to achieve the education to the best of their ability and are able to fully access the curriculum.
Thank you. What do you see as the basic purpose of public schools?
I see the basic purpose of public schools as to give students the tools and resources they need to have a happy and successful life. I know that the majority of what we do is focused on academics, but school is where students get most of their social abilities too, and their social interactions. So making sure that we have created a foundation where students can have both is very important. And also at the end of the day, you don't know what students are going to decide to do with their lives. They might go to higher education, they might go to a trade school, they might start a business, or they might not do any of the above. But if they know that they have the tools and they have the resources to make an informed decision, and they did that, whatever decision they made them happy, I see that as a success.
Thank you. What is your view of the role of the Board of Trustees in the fulfillment of that basic purpose?
So the role of the Board of the Trustees in fulfilling that is all the behind the scenes stuff and the funding allocation we have to make sure that the board is up to date with all research and all programs that are out there, because when it comes to our students, we can't afford to almost get it right. It has to be right, which means that the board is up to date with current research and current high-level practices to ensure that we are giving the students the best tools and the best resources that are out there at this moment.
How would you describe the role of the governing board in relationship to the superintendent and district administration?
So I understand that the superintendent is technically the only employee of the school board. And so the superintendent's role in that is upholding and implementing the policies and the funding allocation and whatever it may be that the board decides on. And that would be the superintendent's role with district administrations, making sure they understand what they need to be doing, making sure they have the resources, which is also on the board, and making sure it's being implemented with fidelity at the district level.
What do you believe are the top 2 issues the Buena Park School District faces and why?
So I believe the top 2 issues work together. I would say enrollment and community involvement. I understand that enrollment has been down for the Buena Park School District. And in fact, the funding was not met for enrollment in the past year. And that interrelates with community engagement, because that shows that something is not, there is a discrepancy somewhere. The school board is either not providing enough resources, not focusing on the right areas, not informing parents of whatever it may be. There could be a million reasons, but community engagement and enrollment usually and typically go hand in hand.
How familiar are you with each of the district's schools? What can you tell us about them?
So I went to Beatty when it was the elementary school first, and then I moved, so I did not go to Buena Park Middle School. But I understand that there are many extracurricular programs that are offered, such as a sailing class and a robotics class, which I think is very interesting, especially to offer it before high school. And I also understand that there is a lot of infrastructure remodeling going on. I believe it was Whitaker's getting a new roof. Some other schools, it was asphalt remodeling or painting. And so I'm assuming that that is an ongoing process of remodeling all the schools that are currently under the Buena Park School District.
Our final question, how would you handle a parent stopping you and asking you to intervene on a school program or operations issue?
Firstly, I would validate them. I would just try to make them feel like they have been heard, just saying like, yes, I understand you're frustrating. I understand you're frustrated. And then I would point them to the exact step-by-step process of how to bring something up at the board. If they need a link or if they need it written out, whatever, however they can access that are the best, I'd point them in that direction so that they can bring it up and they can say their worries to the board as a whole.
Thank you for presenting your candidacy for this position.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Julio Castaneda.
Good evening, Mr.
evening.
Castaneda. Got my timer over here for you, if it's helpful to you. Number 1, please tell us about yourself, your involvement in any Buena Park School District schools, and why you would like to be appointed to our governing board.
Sure. So I have about 10 years experience in accounting and 5 years in business analysis. I've worked in construction and healthcare, which have given me a lot of life experience, a lot of work experience that I feel that I bring to the table. My involvement with the school district is that I live in District 4. I've been living in Buena Park for the last 5 years. I grew up in Anaheim. That's the school district that I grew up in. But I have an affinity for the school board here because there are so many programs that are being provided to the students here, pathway programs, programs in horticulture, STEM, robotics. And it's something that I want to be a part of. I want to be a part of a board that works in getting those type of programs accessible to the student body.
What do you see as the basic purpose of public schools?
The basic purpose that I see for public schools is that it's the most important social safety net that we have in society. If we have programs, if we have resources for students, they're going to be able to achieve and go to those next levels, higher education. And I believe that the biggest purpose is those safety nets for the students through programs, through resources. And I believe that the board members are in the front line of doing that, providing those social safety nets for the students.
What is your view of the role of the Board of Trustees in the fulfillment of that basic purpose?
Sure. So I believe it's all about checks and balances. The board works as a body, and the basic purpose is to be able to provide those resources, provide that funding, be able to work as that unified body and be able to provide those opportunities for the students.
What do you believe are the top two issues the Buena Park School District faces and why?
Sure. I believe that the two most important issues that are being faced right now is bullying and hate crimes. We've seen an uptick across the country, and I believe that the board members have taken certain steps to ensure that there is certain steps to follow when there's accusations of bullying or hate crimes. And I want to learn more, discuss these issues with the board members and learn more about it through them. But I believe that those two issues are going to be very important moving forward, especially with the environment that we're in now politically.
Thank you. How familiar are you with each of the district's schools and what can you tell us about them?
Sure. So I've lived in a district for 5 years. I'm familiar with, there's 6 elementary schools, 2 middle schools. And again, these schools have access to these pathway programs. And I think that's amazing because the future is in technology. And I think the board is doing a great work in making sure that those STEM programs are available for students in the Buena Park School District.
Thank you. Our final question. How would you handle a parent stopping you and asking you to intervene on a school program or operations issue?
If there was a parent that was stopping me regarding a program or operations issue, I would definitely let them know that I am very concerned about what they're talking to me about. I would give them my undivided attention. At the same time, I would want to redirect them on how to apply, how to bring those issues up with the school board, because I wouldn't want to get in any kind of like the Brown Act. I wouldn't want to be in violation of that. So I would want to make sure that I redirected the parent to the resources that we have available at the governing board meetings.
Mr. Castaneda, thank you so much for taking the
Thank you
time
very
this
much.
evening to present your candidacy.
Thank you.
Ralph Lefevre?
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Lefevre. We'll begin with our first question. Please tell us about yourself, your involvement at any Buena Park School District schools, and why you would like to be appointed to our governing board.
Okay, I am involved in student transportation for the last 20 years. And in the course of that, I have learned quite a bit of how school districts operate, primarily LA Unified School District, which is our primary customer with the company I work with. And along with my wife telling me all of the great programs that's going on with the district, I find myself more attracted to want to be a participation in that. Both my children have participated in both Buena Park Middle School and Beatty. And I would just love to be a part of the governing board to see how we can make this district grow and how to get kids more involved. My son currently just graduated the junior high or the high school, and he wants to go and further his education to be a teacher. So I thought, what a great way for a parent to support their children and participate in a program that could further develop them as they get back to the community.
Thank you. What do you see as the basic purpose of public schools?
I see the purpose of public schools not only to educate young minds, to mold them in, the basics of mathematics and in English, all of the things that will cause an individual to be a resourceful person that can give back to the community. In the community in manner of if they're going to serve their country, whether they would serve their community, but to be educated in a fashion that will expand their minds, to open their minds up, to see how their resources that they learned and their own skills can be implemented in a manner in which would grow the community that they would serve. Such as my son wanting to go and, be an educator. So such as that.
What is your view of the role of the Board of Trustees in the fulfillment of that basic purpose?
Well, I believe the Board of Trustees is to support the agenda, the plan, policy, what the district puts forth to grow the community, to grow the education of the students, to further make every school effective in a manner that, look over policy, make sure policy is being adhered to, maybe even revise and advise in a manner that could be more effective, whether it's cost effective or whether it's really hitting the target if the KPIs are being hit as far as the students being educated, the needs of the teaching staff, as well as the community needs in the sense of student needs to go to school, to be transported, and further other programs that will support them. And I believe that is one of the primary roles, other than, holding up school policies.
How would you describe the role of the governing board in relationship to the superintendent and district administration?
Okay, I see the superintendent is basically going to be the portion of the education that is kind of like the boss, so to speak. And the Board of Trustees are going to be able to support him in the sense that here is an agenda, here's a mandate that has to come out. And what is the best way to achieve the goal? And I believe that more than one head will always hit the target. So everybody working together, everybody coming up on the same goal can be achieved in manners that can be done in a way that one person may not think of, but together as a collective would come up with a way to achieve that in avenues that maybe one person couldn't have thought of. So I see the trustees supporting the superintendent, and the superintendent trying to do his best to support the policies of the Department of Education.
What do you believe are the top 2 issues the Buena Park School District faces, and why?
From what I've learned, to to my surprise, Buena Park School Districts was suffering from student retention. And it's kind of odd because in my company, that's the number one thing too. We also have what we call driver retention for school bus drivers. And student retention is very important because without the proper amount of students to support a school, we're going to have a little bit of a problem. I understand that there has been a revamping of the district to try to bring better facilitations to all the schools or a lot of the schools to try to promote student retention, because once a child is done and has graduated, say from an elementary school or even a middle school, they move out. I've heard that some of the parents have their children move further north. And so that child isn't going to be going to Fullerton Joint, or is going to be going to Buena Park Middle, to be going somewhere else. And hey, God bless them. You know, you got to do what you got to do, but the name of the game is retention. So it'd be best to, you know, keep them here. So as far as the issues, I don't see it's going to be an issue any further. I see, you know, a lot of the expansion going on. Beatty has growing, and Beatty is growing every day. Every time we walk at the park there, it's just growing taller and taller.
How familiar are you with each of the district's schools? What can you tell us about them?
Well, I've participated in a lot of the spirit nights and fundraisers and open house at Beatty Middle School. And whenever there was an opportunity where my kids were participating when they were going to the middle school, to the high school, I was an active parent in that, support the teachers on the open house, spirit nights and fundraisers, and just participated in that in every aspect.
Our final question: how would you handle a parent stopping you and asking you to intervene on a school program or operations issue?
Well, I would definitely hear the parent out and try to retain as much information from that conversation. Not to mislead the individual, but to advise the individual that in the position, and if I'm in this position, that I myself could not intervene directly, but I can definitely try to give them the information to find that resource, whether it's going to be directed to a school or principal or program, but primarily take that concern and see how that concern can be heard, whether it be on a board level, whether it can just be at a particular school, whatever that problem is, whatever that problem pertains to, as long as it doesn't jeopardize student safety.
Thank you for taking time to respond to these questions and for your interest in the position.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, last one. Sorry about that. Vincent Charles Nicol.
Mr. Nakao?
It's Nicole. Yeah,
Cool.
Mr. Nicole.
My apologies.
No worries.
Thank you so much for coming this evening. Once again, I've got my timer over here, and we'll begin with our first question. Please tell us about yourself, your involvement at any Buena Park School District schools, and why you would like to be appointed to our governing board.
I've been a Buena Park resident for 20 plus years. My family actually immigrated from the Middle East 40 plus years ago, and we've planted our flag here in Buena Park. I actually went to Fullerton Joint Union, so I went to Buena Park High School. All of my grade school and such was in ABC school district, so I'm familiar with Juarez and Ross Middle School programs, and I'm really interested because I see this as an opportunity to really be involved in my community. I was in the Boy Scouts for 8 years and achieved the rank of Eagle. And I do understand that it's important not only just to, go to these schools and attend education, but actually come back and contribute to your community. And I want to offer my leadership. I want to offer any way I can help to move the programs forward. So, yes.
What do you see as the basic purpose of public schools?
From my understanding and my experience, public schools, they set the landscape and the environment for students to really experience life. And it's important that we allow that, we create a safe environment for them to do that. We allow them to express themselves. And it's really important that we create a space for students to really figure out what it is that I'm a man of God, so I believe whatever the Most High put inside of you, they're able to actually figure that out through the help of their mentors, through the help of their leaders, their school teachers, and their friends as well. I learned much from my friends and my experiences through them, and create an environment where they could take that and make the most of themselves so they could go on and come back and contribute to the communities.
What is your view of the role of the Board of Trustees in the fulfillment of that basic purpose?
So our job, I would assume, as a board on the trustee, one's job would be to really be the ears of the community and the eyes to see what's going on in our schools, what's going on, what are the children talking about, what are the teachers saying, well, how do the parents feel? And I'm sure all of these concerns come from a general place of wanting to find understanding, a general place of love. So we have to figure out, be that ear and understand that and fulfill those duties to make sure that we're offering the best environment for our communities. So that way we have that better retention. We want people to start moving into our communities because their kids are getting something more, because math is math, reading, ABC, 1, 2, 3, like that's all in textbooks. So we really need to have the human touch and make sure that there's something more going on, on our campuses. And I believe, yeah, that would be my answer. Yeah.
How would you describe the role of the governing board in relationship to the superintendent and district administration?
Mhm. Well, the superintendent and I'm sure the superintendent and the district administration have their vision. I understand they've been here the longest, they're the established. So our job as a governing board would be to help in the direction of that vision. And also if we see any discrepancies, obviously hold them accountable to make sure that the voices and everyone's opinions of the community is also being heard. But for the most part, I understand that the people in these positions are in these positions because they're the most qualified. So in that respect, we want to make sure that we're supporting the vision and doing that in the best way possible that keeps the children in mind as well. Yes, that's.
What do you believe are the top 2 issues the Buena Park School District faces and why?
I would, just based on my experiences and also my experiences at Buena Park High School and just growing up middle schools and elementary schools, would be the safety of our students. And that's not just in, maybe today's political context, but I mean the safety of our students in that, what are they being exposed to? Because just from a personal experiences, seeing people who are so bright and so beautiful and being in the same plane with them and starting off in the same way with them and just slowly seeing a decline and them going towards the wrong path. And it's as much as you want to pull them up, you have to know that you got to keep going. So to make sure that we don't have any stragglers and we don't have any friends falling short, that would be like a main issue for me. And also another issue would to be making sure our students are feeling safe, and that would also help with retention. So making sure our students are going to school and attending class and bettering themselves every day. So yes, that would be my answer. Thank you.
How familiar are you with each of the district schools? What can you tell us about them?
Particularly this district, the district schools, I don't want to say I'm familiar with them from my experiences in Buena Park High School and the lovely friends that I've met that went to, Buena Park Middle School and such. But directly attending those schools, not so much, but from what I understand that, the type of programs, that are the most useful or the most, advantageous to the students are the ones that really hear them out and allow them to really pursue what it is that they're going after. If that means that they're interested in rocket science, and they should have programs where they're building rockets like I did in Ross Middle School. We built bottle rockets, or now in today's age, there's a lot of importance on media and production and videography. So I think we should definitely make sure that our students have the best access to these type of avenues to make sure they can express themselves. So that would be my answer. Thank you.
Finally, how would you handle a parent stopping you and asking you to intervene on a school program or operations issue?
First and foremost, I would thank them very much for their concern. I would hear them out, and I would make sure that their concern to the best of my ability. I would do everything in my power to hear them out and make sure that they're heard, and take that forth and make sure that that the general board members are also aware of this concern, and we'll take that issue from there. Thank you.
Thank you once again for presenting your candidacy this evening for the position of trustee.
Awesome. God bless.
Just so that everybody's aware, there's also the applications that were sent to all board members with information. Thank you, candidates, for the applications that you submitted as part of the interview and deliberation process. I just want to make sure that you know that you fill them out with, not in vain, right? But we're using these also as part of the process. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Move on to board deliberations. Candidates, I would like to thank you once again. Thank you for joining us this evening and participating in the interview process. Trustees, would anybody like to start the deliberation?
Barbara, can you hear from there?
Yeah, I can hear clearly.
Can you guys hear Barbara?
Can you hear me? Because I can hear clearly.
That's better.
Yeah, we hear you.
Thank you.
I don't know how the deliberation continues to work here, but I want to thank everybody for coming out. It's very nerve-wracking. I was on that side at one point many years ago. And so sometimes you're like, oh, I wish I said that, or I wish I said that. And I know it's challenging. So I think everyone has a personal mission and cause and purpose. And so no one can take that away from anybody. So I want to start by sharing that. I think sometimes you're like sitting on the seat and you're like, oh, they're judging me, or how do they view me? I don't think it's about that. I do think that the board's role here through our years of being together is about helping and supporting the direction with what needs to be done. And then the superintendent's duty is to help make sure he knows how to do the how. Sometimes that gets blurred because we have so much passion. I'm a very passionate person myself, and it leads to a lot of differing opinions and so forth. But when you keep it clear and saying, here's the what policies and goals, and the how is executed by the superintendent and his amazing team. We have an amazing team here, by the way. Then it keeps it very, I think, purposeful. We also have 5 unique opinions up here, 4 at this moment. And hopefully the new person will be the 5th. At the end of it all, I know I'm very proud of our members here because we end up always coming to one voice. One voice doesn't always mean we agree, but one voice means that we have the same purpose, but differing opinions, and that's okay. So I just want to share that as well. So with our 8 unique, amazing schools, I am pretty sure that all of them have one mission, and it's our mission statement that we came up with, which is igniting the passion for learning. And I think all of you probably believe in that and share that today. And it's not so sexy up here, like, when we're in meetings, that's not the right word to use, I think, in a meeting. Not so always the most appealing thing to do, which is passion, purpose, and, drive. And then you get faced with, what about budgets and safety and facilities, and those things come up. So there's a lot of issues addressed. And so I would say that's a very hard question. I mean, there's not just two. I wish it was only two. It's like what times 30, 2 times, declining enrollment, all of those things. So all that to say, I think my deliberation or feedback is I'm looking for a candidate. I think that kind of has that balance of those and what would fit at this current moment. Doesn't mean that no one else can fit it yet. And I have put in our force ranking. I'm not sure if that's something.
I think, why don't we just start with others, if other board members want to say it, and then we can go. back.
Sure. So that was my feedback to say what I was looking for. I was just pass on.
Mr. Frutos, you wanna-
Yeah, Ms. Ahmad, is there anything that you want to say from where you're at, from your location?
No, I just kind of want to repeat kind of what Mr. Chong said. I want to thank everyone for coming out, and I was in that seat twice. So I remember it being super hard. What I did notice is, I'm so glad that we had so many people apply. So that was actually great. And I think it's great for our district to show that a lot of people are having interest in, doing more for our kids. And that's kind of been our number one thing where, I'm just looking for someone that will fill the spot just as the other board members, that has the students as number one. That's our main thing. Someone that's going to represent all students and talk for all students that are in all different walks of life. Someone that kind of, thinks before they speak, because that's hard these days to, everyone gets very passionate. And just able to work well with others. And I'm glad that I was able to hear it. It's kind of like blind dating though from my end, because I don't get to see anyone. I just hear everyone. So, but you do get a good view basically of everyone's fields and what they think the district needs. So I just want to thank everyone for coming out.
Michelle, is there something like you comment on?
I don't really have anything additional to add. I really appreciate everyone coming out tonight and giving their authentic view of what they see as what a board member is and how they can contribute to that. And I appreciate the concern that they have for all of our kids and wanting them to have the resources and to be seen and have everything addressed that they need to move forward. And I'm just glad that this group gets that. And so that's what we want, somebody to add to that.
Great, thank you, Michelle. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out here today. I think it was a great turnout. I appreciate everybody taking the time out of their schedules to be here for an important cause. I think being a school board member is very crucial to our children's education and also being a part of the community. We're that fabric that we want to lead the way, and we want to role model what it is we want education to be here in our district, right? So igniting the passion is something that is very important to us. We are going through a lot of remodeling. We are, going through that remodeling phase where we want all our schools to look amazing, but it's just not the schools we want to be amazing. We have amazing staff. We have amazing teachers. We have amazing staff here in our district, and that plays a big role in what we do here. And we want to, and what we want to teach our children and educate them in, and just be the, we've already, trailblazed the way for them. We just need them to kind of find their passions and then find their own way through their education and as they grow up. So, but thank you again for being here. It's going to be a hard decision as we deliberate here. And I also want to thank Ms. Ahmad from her location, because it's not easy being where she's at probably 5, 6 o'clock in the morning out there right now. That's not easy. So we appreciate your time and dedication that you've given this process here tonight.
So now that I think we're going to move into the continued deliberations, and then they'll take an action item, and then the person will be sworn in on Monday night. So go back to Mr. Frutos.
Do I go on? Check down the-
No, just deliberations. If you guys, now that you just think that, is there any top candidates that you guys want to talk about?
Yes, does anybody want to bring in discussion in regards to our candidates that have taken the time to be here tonight to be a part of this process?
For me, again, very tough, not easy. I think in my current moment, with what we've heard and read through the applications, that fits what I was looking for. For me, Mr. Lefebvre kind of became my first choice for tonight. I just want to throw out, if we're going through our rankings, he is kind of given the, I think, balanced things that I'm looking for that I think would help our board in this next step.
Ms. Ahmad from your location?
My number one ranking was also Mr. Lefebvre as well.
That was my number one too.
And I think it's gonna be unanimous. I have Mr. Lefebvre as my number one too, based on everything that I was looking for and what our school district needs and our board, the way that we are one voice, one team. I felt the best fit in this situation was Mr. Lefebvre, and I had him as my number one. So we'll be moving on to the action calendar, a provisional appointment of governing board meeting to fill vacancy for trustee area 4. It's recommended that the governing board appoint Ralph Lefebvre.
Need a motion?
Do you need a motion?
I'll make a motion, but I also want to throw out to everybody again, please don't be discouraged. It's hard. It's not easy to hear that. And one doesn't mean the best only, but just in our situation. I just want to throw that out there, but I motion for Mr. Lefebvre to be our candidate for our board.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Michelle. Is there any discussion? With no discussion on the item, we'll move on to approve the item with a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Chong.
Aye.
Michelle.
Aye.
Samad.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Motion passes 4-0. It's recommended that the governing board appoint Ralph Lefebvre to fill the vacancy for trustee area 4. Adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Samad. And we'll have a roll call. Mr.
Aye.
Chong. Michelle.
Aye.
Ms. Ahmad.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Motion passes 4-0. The governing board adjourned tonight at 7:37.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.